law? Has the planning board and have the planning board and the town board talked about what would be required to go through for the creation of wind districts?
No, we have not done that.
So as professional planning board members, do you think that the districts as proposed in the draft law would constitute zones in relation to New York state law?
I do, yeah.
You do?
I do, yeah.
County would be able to tell you that. We gotta run that by the county, don't you?
Oh, yeah, you have to run by the county.
So we'll find out fairly soon whether the county thinks that the wind districts constitute districts.
I think eventually we will, yes.
The agricultural districts have zoning.
Yeah, they do have some, do have zoning. That's why you set up a spot zoning.
In an agricultural
Yeah, you have
district.
agriculture, and you have your residential, and you have your commercial and industrial, and
Does the agricultural department have to sign off on that?
it has to be in conformance with that 25A or whatever it is.
What if you wanted to create a linear, low-intensity park? They do it all over the state. They have 4 of them. Central New York has a lot of history, heritage, farmers, a pocket, linear, low-intensity park. Sounds pretty good to me. They have $12 million in the park fund. All they need is some money, not much. Probably wouldn't, but you wouldn't have to have fancy, but you could have something that would create something that really puts Central New York on the map. They tried it over where I come from, Morrisville. They had a great plan, put it in all those people. It never happened. Why not? Right here. This is Central New York, Pratt's Hollow. Why not?
Sounds good, I don't know enough about it, but it must have done that.
That's not my idea. That was on some park expert, was on Susan Arbiter the other night, saying, you know, they're wasting all this money on parks just to maintain them. Why not some creative ideas that are magnets for improving the quality of life in Madison? Comprehensive plan, it has recreation and farming. That's the first priorities. So why not?
Sounds good. But again, I gotta know more about it, so.
Yeah, me too. I just heard it on the radio.
I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, right.
Who's that one, Roger? What was that?
Low intensity park?
For one thing, I don't know.
I'm not familiar either, but I wrote it down, I'm gonna find out.
It's on Google, by the way. That's where I got it.
Where I've had it next.
I'd never heard of it before. I mean, because I thought a park's a park, you know, for rich people to hunt.
Risky area.
Chrissy, no.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to do that?
Anybody else have any?
What would you like to see in the future, anyway?
So then I'll approach Ron about working on land use regulations. Okay. Another thing we talked about before is our own attorney.
Yes,
What are your thoughts on that?
I think it would be a good idea if we had that money for it.
That's a problem, is the money.
Yeah.
And we, actually, Ron did try to find one a few months ago, but he couldn't find anybody interested in doing that. And we certainly can't hire anybody from New York City to do it, so.
Can't believe we couldn't find anybody, just couldn't find anybody we could afford it. That's probably pretty close to it.
A lot of times cheap attorneys don't really.
No, it doesn't pay
You know,
for
just
it.
Counterproductive.
took a cheap doctor.
Yeah, yeah.
Town's got a cheap attorney.
With expedite things.
But I do think we should have
I did
some
too, because
counsel
there's an
at
awful
different
lot of
times.
legal questions.
Pardon?
we need.
I think we should have counsel at different times,
Yeah.
absolutely.
If
Oh, I
not,
agree.
if not somebody to make the final decision, just for, like you said, legal counseling.
And if you make a recommendation or draft, at least they can preview it and
Well, it's another thing to be said too, is when we're writing, like these laws and stuff, we don't know all the legalese, terms and stuff, and it's nice to have
Right.
somebody sit there and guide us through that.
Right. Take the practical, put it into the legal.
Exactly.
Somebody's well versed in.
I'm sure that, when we send like the land use reg back, they kind of put it into we set recommendations and they kind of put it into
Legal form.
yeah, but somebody else's.
Yeah, no.
With it,
Yeah, a whole other town, and, I mean,
they are.
I was mortified when I read that, to be honest with you, but,
You remember the districts in it?
town Eaton, wasn't it?
No, Catholic, I know it was a town, but.
I think that's what it was, but at any rate, to review that stuff before we send it up, first off, probably help the town board right off the bat, if we send it to them in a good legal form, like a real law.
Make it easier for them.
Sure.
A lot easier.
But what we actually recommended and wrote did not appeal.
Yeah,
That's what we do.
I'd like to work on it, I really would, I mean, I'd be happy,
I do too, and I think we should now talk to
I'd
Ron
be happy
about
to
it.
get the ball rolling on that too.
I mean, the heat as far as wind turbines is off us now, so we could spend some time on it.
That's what I'm saying, I'd like to do, a couple of these things we've been kicking around, I'd like to get it done and start working on it.
And I'm gonna try and get some more information on zoning.
You got your noise thing in limbo too?
Yeah.
Because that was just the town board was working on that, right?
Yeah, Jim was,
Yeah,
I
I
was
never-
working with Jim on that, but I never, we went through some of the recommendations, I actually gave him the noise levels, but I haven't heard more about it, so,
It scares me, I make a lot of noise.
yeah. I can hear you clear over my place.
Sometimes my tractors are running 9 o'clock at night.
I've
Oh, yeah, I
heard
know.
late at night, it almost sounds like a noise generator around somewhere. Has anybody else heard that?
Where at?
In my driveway. It's like almost like a droning noise or whatever. I don't know what it is.
It's Bruce's
Well-
book.
Ringing in your ears?
Morrisville College works a lot of nights up there.
Are they would
Yeah.
travel that far, huh?
Well, she knows well, I use it nice, you have to be out there till midnight, or 10 o'clock in the morning because of the weather, so.
That shouldn't be a problem.
No, you gotta cut trees, so chainsaws have to run once in a while. so.
It could be like a vacuum pump or something, I don't know, it sounds like way up in distance somewhere.
In what direction though?
It's hard to.
You can't tell.
No.
I know what he's talking about, because I've heard something too.
Yeah, it's almost-
I can't figure it out.
It almost sounds like when you're in the house sleeping, it sounds like there's a car idling outside, and I've gone outside, there's nothing. It almost looks like it'll,
Now, how far are you from Stone's window,
quite a ways.
the distance wise?
I don't
I can see you,
know,
but
I just heard the white
Yeah.
Can you see them?
I can see the lights and whatever, but I doubt.
But you can't see the top or the bottom of the wind turbines?
No, I would never be able to hear those things from that distance.
So say, if you could see one of them, you can take when the blade's full vertical, they're 315 feet high, so what you do is line up a transit or something and figure the angle, and take the cotangent of the angle times the height, and it'll tell you how far it is.
Okay.
Cool.
You gotta convert from feet back to miles.
Oh, you got a smart guy.
You lost me at transit.
Well, yeah.
Use anything to get an angle.
He's a rocket scientist.
Literally.
Yeah, he is.
I know.
That's not even fun.
Kind of fun.
You say, are you a rocket, what are you, rocket scientist? Say yes, I am.
I would love to be able to do that, so,
That's
just a car scientist.
Yeah.
Well, you talk to Ron, and, I'd be willing to work on a land use and economic development if you guys want to.
Okay.
Me too, I'll do.
Great.
I'll do any time.
I'll do it.
Yeah, you do that now.
I'll
something.
We gotta do it.
Careful, you just work.
Maybe we should have an egg committee too, Bruce.
Whether we like it or not, you know, whether you like it or not, the town is growing and there's things that's
Oh, they are.
happening, and we better be prepared or start doing something, otherwise we're gonna dig ourselves in a hole. I won't be around, but you guys will.
Does anybody know much about this Southern Madison Land Trust?
I belong to
No.
it. Southern Madison Heritage Trust,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they do have a website,
Yeah, I know
I've
they do.
been involved with them for several years.
But
The
do
guy
they
who does the conservation easements and land, I think is Greg Owens, the DEC forester, he knows quite a bit, and he can specific questions. But I've never been on the board though, going to meetings and giving them money.
I was wondering if they picked up your taxes on the land that you have in the, I don't know.
Well, if it's an easement and somebody still owns it, it reduces their taxes, but they still own it. If it's an actual donation to a nonprofit, then it should be off the tax rolls.
But still, you give up your development rights on that
Yeah,
property.
a conservation easement, yeah. That's the main reason they formed, is to be the vehicle for conservation easements in this area. Because there's other land trusts and stuff in other areas, Finger Lake Land Trust, whatever you can use to essentially do the legal work of committing to a easement. But I mean, in the end, it reduces taxes similar to committing to a 480A forestry plan, say with the state, although you have some other commitments in terms of the state getting 7% of your harvest when that comes around or whatever too. But it does substantially reduce your property taxes. So it does, it takes, I guess, money off the tax rolls. But it's usually just vacant land, not highly assessed land anyway. I mean, it's whatever the rural or open or vacant land assessment.
In perpetuity too.
Yeah, I mean, that, it should be, for the contract and stuff. I mean, they bought up, or, well, let's put it this way. The example, one of their first acquisitions, partly because they had money donated to them, was the White Eagle Farms
Yeah,
property in
Carver.
12B. Well, what they forgot to do was tell them you should rotate crops and not have continuous corn and throw manure on it constantly, and it's, not really what you would call preserved land, So it preserves it from development and paving, I guess. But he got a good deal there to buy it from them, and with the commitment, basic commitment to keep it in agriculture. So
Why would they try to preserve land on a busy highway like that?
well, that was part of it. It's close to Woodman Pond. Not that I don't think it pollutes Woodman Pond. Other least villages use it as a water supply, but the idea was to keep part of a commercial area like that open. I mean, I question their using funds for that property or for the biggest farm in the county and most highly subsidized farm in the county too. White Eagle Farms is, they take in huge amounts of crop subsidy.
Didn't that parcel right there in the town of Eaton?
It's partly Madison, partly Eaton,
But the traffic's our biggest hazard on the farm.
yeah.
The traffic is the biggest hazard on our farm. Route 12B is very busy.
Well, yeah, when he's going up there and down with his
But
highway
even
and stuff.
at my place today, I pulled away from the stop sign and a car came down East Lake Road without even slowing for the stop sign, tried to go around me. And if you know my place is corn right on the corner, there's no way they could have seen up the road.
Oh, you're right.
I was gonna turn left and I had to head off to the cornfield to avoid that car.
Try being on a bicycle and get two-way traffic in here. I mean, there's no place to go on the shoulders and just bust it up, and it's, people drive too fast all the time.
But I mean, I don't see the sense of preserving land on such a busy highway.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I thought there was some better properties to go after in terms of conservation, at least for wildlife habitat. Cornfield is like a desert, asphalt field.
Anything else?
I'm just a rabbit foot on this.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Do you have a second on it?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?